Hi, I'm Sil. I'm working on a D&D tabletop product called the Arena Battle League. And even though the final product is a book, I'm using Unreal Engine to do all of the artwork for it. This allows me to make dramatic videos for each picture in the book that DMs can share with their players at the table. In this YouTube series, we'll show you the progress we make as we push toward launch. Welcome to Sil Creates. Over the last 2 weeks, we spent a fair bit of time working on design of the teams and some modifications we're making to the game rules. We spent a fair bit of time focusing on making the teams feel more like teams. A lot of encounters in Dungeons and Dragons are designed for flexibility, which is great. But in our case, we have teams of characters that can cooperate and work together and perhaps even combo up. And I came up with the idea of doing a team action, perhaps similar to layer actions. We're not sure. We're thinking on this still. Perhaps taking advantage of team roles or party roles. So Chris and I went back and forth primarily on Trello discussing this. I also spent some time in the appendices and working on parts of the document that you haven't seen me working on yet. The Arena Battle League is held in a mobile Olympic Village type city, which is a dome called the Battledrome, which rolls into town when it's time for a tournament. So I'm going to have to detail that out before we go live with the first version. Here we are back at work on martial law, who you saw in the last video. We spent a bit of time already working on them. Chris put a lot more design work in based on some discussions that we had around doubling down on this court of law feel for martial law. And a lot of the features they use, a lot of their actions are themed around that now. And it's just so rich, so full of flavor that we're doing everything we can to maintain that while still adhering to the restrictions we have with the size of the stat blocks on the page. Here you can see me updating based on new versions of martial law that Chris created. And reporting to him in Trello that it's looking good. Some of these abilities he came up with are so much fun. It's going to be just a blast at the table to play against these characters. So we did spend a lot of time this week working in design and D&D Beyond. I know this video series is titled Making a D&D Book in Unreal Engine, but obviously we need to use InDesign to put the book together. After Chris's changes to martial law, I really felt like the assets that I had found for the martial law characters were just not interesting enough based on the powers and abilities that he was coming up with. So I spent a bit of time on the Fab Marketplace, seeing if I could find some assets that we could use that might be of higher quality than the ones I had already found. And I love a lot of these assets and these models. I think I will use them for another team, though. They just didn't really feel like Court of Law-ish. So I will be instead looking to see if I can make our existing characters look more courtly, law courtly, if that's possible. Chris and I had an idea for one of our MVP teams. Now that we have decided we will do 4 teams for the initial launch, each of those teams has to be memorable and of the highest quality. We aren't super excited about slicing dicers from that perspective. They are definitely a top 16 team, but perhaps not top 4. So we decided we would try to create a team using some of the original monsters from the early days of D&D. So some of the classics that people would recognize, putting them all into a single team. And by original, I mean 1st edition, 2nd edition, 3rd edition. There are a lot of monsters there that are classics that we think could make for good teams. Things like basilisks, cockatrices, green slimes, things that people would recognize, but after reviewing so many of these assets, I started getting the feeling that they just didn't feel like members of a team that would be in a tournament. So I was talking with Chris about the team design and some of the challenges. I spent a lot of time finding both assets and special effects that could be used by those creatures in the arena that I can use in the art and for videos. There are some amazing looking special effects on the marketplace that Unreal Engine is capable of. Often though, when you integrate them into your scene, your project settings and your lighting can have a drastic impact on the visual appearance of those special effects. They're often the wrong scale as well, and attempting to scale them up is incredibly challenging. So I'm not certain how often I'll be able to use them, but at least I have access to them. After collecting quite a list of potential assets that we could secure from the store, I wanted to pick out the top 4, 5, or 6 that I felt would make a good team. At this moment, I'm thinking something along the lines of Gargoyle, a Bullywug or Sloddy, potentially an Umber Hulk, a Yeti even. They're very humanoid in shape, which would make them great for promotional videos that we will do for each of the teams. You want to see them relaxing in a pub after a match, throwing insults at other teams. I really want to get that feeling that these are celebrities. So we made some decent progress this week. A little bit in the core rules when we were talking about teams and team functions, team actions. We did make some good progress on martial law. I even got some appendix work done with some of the core descriptions of the rules. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode of Sil Creates.